All right, so I think a lot of this one was the sticky note stuff. Is that correct? Here, okay, so let's write it down. You have F, and if you already have this on your paper, you don't have to write it again, but let's write it at least once. So what do you fill in for this? Increasing, positive, decreasing, negative. Do it again. And then second derivative tells you concavity. So concave up, concave down. Okay, so we're going to look at that to answer the questions. So letter A, and let me read what's going on here. F is defined on the closed interval -2 to 8. This is your initial condition, f of 2 equals 1. They don't give you that function, though. They give you f prime, which is actually good. The derivative is your source that gives you all your information. 2 line segments and a semicircle, as you can see there. So does F, which you're not looking at, have a relative maximum, minimum, or neither at 6? Give a reason. What did you guys think? Neither. Because F prime, who is your source, and then what'd you say? So you can say stays positive because this stays above the x-axis, or you can say doesn't change sign then. Oh, you have to say 6 somewhere. You have to say that at x equals 6 in some capacity. Now that was only worth 1, but you guys got it, so good job. Every correct answer, every point you get is, a celebration. All right, letter B. On what open intervals, if and do you guys know that, maybe you don't talk about this enough. Open intervals means you should put a parenthesis, not a bracket. Did you guys know that? Open is parenthesis. What do you say if it should be a bracket? Closed. Okay, good. You guys know, making sure. We have so much else to talk about. I don't really mention that enough. So open means parentheses. Graph of F, concave down. Okay, so look, F is concave down when the graph we are looking at is decreasing. So let's look back up here. That would be from -2 to 0. And then where else? 4 to 6. So it was a point for saying that. So just the answer. Because F prime, who is your source, is decreasing there, and it was a point for that explanation. Yes, sir.
Do you think they would have marked us off if it looked like that?
Yes, because it says open. So let me address that. I asked at a session once about the whole bracket parenthesis thing, and they said if it's supposed to be a bracket, but you put a parenthesis, they'll let it go. If it's supposed to be a parenthesis and you put a bracket, they will mark it wrong. And so my takeaway from that is put parentheses on everything. Is my takeaway. I'm like, tell me how to get a correct answer. Okay, like just tell me how to get a correct answer. All right, letter C. Let me fold this over so I've got some more space here. So find the value of this. Okay, a lot of you identified it was L'Hopital's rule. Here's how you have to write it to get all the points. We're gonna do limit, and write this down if you didn't. Limit is x goes to 2 of just the numerator. Just the numerator. Now, if you plug in 2, f of 2, I think they told us that. Oh yeah, and I circled it. What is f of 2? 1 times 6 would be 6. And then 3 times 2 is 6. And, lo and behold, it comes out to 0. And then separately from that, you're going to do limit as x goes to 2 of just the denominator, this x squared minus 5x plus 6. And guess what that comes out to if you plug in 2? 0. All right, so that's worth a point, all of that, showing that they both come out to be 0. It's not hard, it's just a lot of writing. Actually, that's not even that much writing. Let's not complain. Okay, so there's a point for saying that. And that tells you to do L'Hopital's rule. So here's L'Hopital's rule. You have to write this. Hey, Ms. Cole, looks like you're just recopying the problem. Yep, sure am. And you know how I tell you to use equal signs sparingly? If you link together 2 unequal things, they won't give it to you. Here's where you do have to link these together. We're going to put equals limit as x goes to 2. And then what is L'Hopital's rule? How do you do that? The derivatives. Yeah, okay. So what is your derivative of 6f of x? 6f prime of x minus what? 3, good, over 2x minus 5. It was a point for linking those 2 together. And so unfortunately, a lot of you put this, but L'Hopital's rule is linking them. So the first step is you write them separately equal to 0. The second point is from linking these together. And then the third point is the answer, which some of you got, like you didn't link these together, but your answer came out okay. So now let's go ahead and plug in 2. F prime of 2. That's the graph. The graph is F prime. So what is F prime of 2? 0 times 6 is 0. So 0 minus 3. And then on the bottom, you would have 4 minus 5. Don't simplify that. It does come out to 3, but if you accidentally write -3, guess what? You're wrong. They're not going to give it to you. Okay, any questions on like where the 3 points came from? Okay. So then we're gonna do part D. Find the absolute minimum. All right, which test gives you absolute maximums and minimums? So, okay, so that is a table. Who are your candidates? Endpoints, critical points. So your endpoints, you guys are gonna nail this. -2 and 8. How do you get critical points? Yet where the derivative is 0. So that would be -1 and 2 and 6. I realized when some of you had 6 and erased it, I felt really bad because it was 1 point for identifying the candidates. So if you even had that, you got a point, which is why I always say, don't ever leave anything blank because you can get a point for just identifying candidates. I get that 6 will not yield a maximum or minimum, but the reason the candidates test covers all bases is you've tested every candidate. It's kind of like, we know there are those outlier people running for president that we know aren't going to win, but they're still candidates. Do you know what I'm saying? Okay, like 6 is still a candidate. All right, and that part went okay. This part did not, but that's okay because I'm going to clarify it and then you'll be fine for the exam. You have to take your initial condition. Do you see this right here? 1, I'm going to put this for f of x. It's 1 plus, and then you have to accumulate, not starting at 0, but starting at 2. And so sometimes it's 0, but a lot of times it's not. And then to x, like wherever you want to go. So the one that's really easy to do, which I'm going to do first because it's the easiest one, if you plug in 2, the integral from 2 to 2 is nothing, plus 1 gives you 1. So 2, 1, you can go ahead and put on there. For the rest of these, you're going to have to come up here and slice this apart and get all of your areas. So let's do the first one. What's the area of this first triangle? That's 1, right? All right, how about this triangle? Yeah, just think about it. 1/2 base times height. Oh, and good. Why is it negative? It's underneath the x-axis below sea level. All right, and then we've got this triangle here. 1/2 base times height. 2. All right, then this is where it gets tricky. You've got this whole rectangle, which would be 8. Do you see that? So it's 8 minus the semicircle, because you want these areas. So it's 8 minus, now how do you do a semicircle? Good. And what's the radius of this? 2. So let's see, that would be 8 minus 2 pi. So what is each one of these little weird shapes worth? It would be 4 minus pi. Like if you do half of this, do you get what I'm trying to break it into half? So each one of these is 4 minus pi. The reason I think that was difficult, in addition to just being difficult, is it's also time consuming, right? Like it takes time to go back and do that. All right, but let's trudge forward. All right, if you're going to do -2, it's going to be 1 plus your integral from 2 to -2. So look at where I'm pointing. You want to accumulate from here to here. You're going backwards. So it would be +3 minus 1. So here, just go ahead and take this. So what's that going to come out to? 3 for that one. Cool. Now let's do the same thing for -1. It's going to be 1 plus integral from 2 to -1. So 1 plus 3, it is first. She's saying the final answer over here. Trying to lead you through it. All right, now this one, finally, we're going forwards. It's gonna be 1 plus integral from 2 to 6. So if we accumulate from 2 to 6, that's gonna be 2 plus 4 minus 5. Now, I'm gonna write approximately. We're gonna pretend pi is 3, just to see approximately what that is. So 1 plus 2 plus 4 minus 3. It's close to 4. Because you have to figure out like about what that is. All right, and then 8. We're gonna do 1 plus integral from 2 to 8. So from 2 all the way to the end, that would be 2 plus 8 minus 2. Good. You guys were with me on that. So that would be 1 plus 2 plus 8 minus roughly 6, like about 5-ish. Now at this point, I forgot. Oh, and that was worth a point. Like doing all of that. That's your justification as well. Did they ask for an absolute maximum or an absolute minimum? I forgot. Minimum. All right, so we're gonna say absolute minimum is, and then what's the smallest result? 1 at x equals 2, and then that was worth a point. I want to clarify this. I don't know if anyone did this in here, but I know it happened in my other class. I had some people write absolute minimum is at x equals 2, and guess what? They won't give it to you. So please write it this way. Second thing I want to clarify, I had some people fill in a couple of these, but not the others. That knocks you out for both points. Even if you can't get all these areas, make something up here, you will lose this point. But if your answer is the lowest number you got, they will give you this one. So brute force, okay? Like if you can't get this, try, make something up. And then if this answer matches your table, you can get the third one. Okay.
It's like